Hello everyone. As you may have noticed, I finished grading your discussion posts for Module 1, and I just wanted to make a few comments about some of the things I'm seeing that could be problematic as we move forward. So first, there are some really strict guidelines in relationship to your connecting actual material into your original posts and making sure you form a foundation and material for your responses themselves. And some of that is missing in original posts across the board. So some of you may have only used the text. That costs you points. That's um, minimal in terms of expectations. um, some of you referenced it but didn't provide an actual reference. In other words, there was some reference in the text of your content, but not a reference or an in-text citation. I get to be a real stickler on this too because it's required in your papers. It contributes to the plagiarism issues, and you need to practice it when you're writing in the discussion board. So make sure you follow through with that. And I am using the rubric to grade. So if you don't give me the resources and the references I expect, that is going to cut down on your overall grade. You just need to be aware of that as we move forward because it's going to continually be an issue. If you're not doing it now, start incorporating it. I also want to talk about the spirit of the discussion board. Yes, you can continue to post through Sunday evening, and that is the absolute deadline. It's 11:59 Sunday evening. If you have not posted, they are not accepted, and at that point, you lose those points altogether. However, posting in the last 3 or 4 hours of Sunday in terms of all of your responses to other students is not engaging in the discussion board or the spirit of the discussion. You're missing all the discussion. And you're not responding to other students who may be responding to your original post. And you're not engaging in the class. And so that really skates the line as to meeting the minimum level of responses. I understand life can get in the way. I certainly understand that. And if it happens once throughout the entire course, that's fine. But if that starts to be a consistent pattern, I, I will grade accordingly because you're really at that point where you're not helping anyone else, you're not learning yourself, you're not truly engaging in it, you're trying to just bust them out. Now, the other side to that is some of you are posting your original response and all of your responses to other students all within a couple hours on Wednesday. Or you're posting your original response Wednesday evening and coming in on Thursday and making those posts, and you never come back. Now, the interesting thing about this is some of you are asking some really good questions of your fellow students. But since you're never coming back in, my question is, are you following up on that? Are you responding back to students who answer your question? Now, their response may not require anything from you, and that's fine. But the whole purpose of this activity is that it's an active learning process that gets you engaged in discussion about these pieces of material we're covering and helps you build a skill set and a deeper understanding of the material itself. And if you do the absolute minimum and just try to skate by on this, you're missing all of that. And it doesn't help you any because then when you start turning in assignments, you're not as strong in what you're turning in. So please keep that in mind. The whole point isn't just to get you in the classroom 2 days and you be done. You need to consider the fact that if we were having live class on campus, you would be sitting in a classroom with me 4 days a week, okay, Monday through Thursday, for a good chunk of time. At least check into the classroom 4 days a week. What those 4 days are, up to you. But check in, engage to some degree, even if it's just a post to someone else. Read posts. I can go in and look at the statistics to see how often you're in the class and how much time you spend when you're in there. And if you're in there long enough to post your original response and then you come back Sunday evening for 30 minutes to post a few things just to try to get yourself under the minimum guidelines, that's not engagement. And in the end, it will impact your overall grade. So keep that in mind. We're through Module 1. You're just starting to get pushed through into Module 2. Make sure you keep this in mind and really engage in this process because it's part of the learning, engaged in it. So that was the other thing I'm seeing, and I'm kind of seeing a pattern there that could be detrimental overall as we move forward, and I don't want that to happen. So pay close attention to that. If you have any questions about what you're doing or the feedback I've provided, the feedback is really targeted on those things that, as we move forward, can be problematic. The one other thing I'm going to touch on is that the way I allocate points when I'm looking at this is that your original response is really worth 10 solid points if it's there. Each response, the minimum responses, have really 5 points associated with them. So what that means is I grade with the rubric, but then I look, and if you just did your original response, you're starting out with 10 out of 20 to begin. And then I look at, okay, what's the quality of what you posted? If you give me your original response and one response to another student, you're starting out with a 15 out of 20. And then I grade with the rubric to kind of see if the quality requires any reduction past that, reference use and all of that type of thing. So keep that in mind, because the thing with the 3 posts is that that's the minimum. And the minimum really is not considered above a C. If you do the minimum, you're average. Average is a C. It's a 70% in that percentile. So I'm expecting you to do above the minimum. I set the minimum standard so that you know what it's going to require to really pass the class and to engage it in a level that I'll consider engagement. But it is not the most you should be doing, right? You should truly engage. And some of you are really doing that. You're jumping in, you're in the classroom 4 or 5 days a week, you're responding back to people who respond to you, you're engaging in a conversation back and forth. That's what this is for and what you really need to be jumping into. So it's about providing you the opportunity to really learn and do what you need to do to be the best you need to be in this. So keep that in mind as we move forward and really make sure that you incorporate that in what you're doing as we kind of move forward in the class. And don't forget, this is graduate level work. And so my expectations are that you're going to be turning in graduate level quality work and going to be applying yourself, because at this level especially, you want to be here. And the end degree tells employers that you have application skills. And so it is important that you really engage in it so that you get the most out of it, so then you can use this and meet employer expectations on the end. Because if you don't engage in it, you don't practice it, you don't consider all the complexities of it, because it's not that there's always just a right answer. And you'll see that when I'm going through these and grading, you don't all have the same answer. And that's to be expected. What I expect is that you have a good foundation for why you answered it the way you answered it, and you can support that and it makes sense, meaning that if I was your employer and you were saying we need to go in this direction, you have a sound foundation for that. It's rooted in material that says experts say this is what we can expect if we do this. And this discussion board gives you an opportunity to explore why people have differing views than you. Right? Why are they looking at it different? They're supporting it with material too, so why does it look different than yours? And ask them and get into that. But if you ask them the questions, the expectation is you're going to go back, read the answers, and respond back to that, right? So it's not it is a process. It's not just a response. Keep that in mind. So the grades are posted. You have them there. This is kind of my general feedback to everybody that I want you to keep in mind as we move forward, and I am already seeing you in this week's discussion board. So I will talk to you again soon.